That there was a historical voting period of 70 years, and it was Moses who voted positive. So his prayer was, give us as many days, okay, as we've seen evil, all right? And here it is, see? Isaiah's playing off that. Isn't that clever? Only he's not using these, he's using it throughout. See, you got 42, this also is a play on God-man. 42 and 42, God-man, duality, okay? But it's for as many also. 35, 35. Okay, and the topics are the same. I mean, the topics are related in each verse where he splits it. Then this is 56, which we haven't talked about yet. Okay, and here's another 56. Okay, and then you got 70, which we just covered. Sorry. You got 70, which we just covered, and then here's another 70. So he's playing literally off what Moses wrote here in verse 15. The highlighted in dark blue there is, in English it says basically, give us as many days of happiness as you've given us days of grief. All right? So Isaiah's saying, yeah, that's going to happen. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's what he's playing on. Okay, so the voting period that Moses votes in, which goes from here to here, oops, okay, that's played on in Isaiah in a very interesting way. Okay, it's played on right here in verses 7 and 8 of Isaiah 53. Let me do that again. I like the way it lights up, but then when I unclick my mouse, it stops. That's the 70 here. That's verses 7 and 8 in Isaiah 53. Verses 7 and 8 in the English go roughly... in English, they go roughly... they're talking about how the authorities beat him up. Okay, and then how, as a result, he was beat up with our sins. All right? So he's stressing the role of authority, both Roman and Jewish, oppressing him, and then as if that weren't bad enough, once he gets to the cross, and he shouldn't even be alive at that point, okay, he gets beaten up with our sins. It started the thing off back here in verse 5, but I haven't covered that yet. This one is Nigas Wahunani. This is where he's taken over by the authority. That's how verse 8 begins. He's taken over by the authorities and unfairly, hurt. Okay, and how he didn't protest. He let them do it to him. All right, that's in verse 7, and in verse 8. It's how he had no descendants. I mean, you can look up these verses in yourself, Isaiah 53, 7 and 8. So he's mimicking, or not mimicking exactly, but he's talking back to how Moses, all right, was abused by authority himself. Okay, the Pharaoh just wouldn't listen no matter what happened. Okay, and then of course when Moses was younger, his whole entire life was, because that's his life period there. In his whole entire life, he was supposed to die. The Hebrews were under oppression and judgment. Okay, by the Egyptians. All right, so he's talking back to that. He's paralleling the theme. So see when Moses says, "Give us as many days." Right here, give us as many days of happiness as you gave us grief. Okay, that's a 70-year period. So here's the grief that Messiah gets on behalf of the Jews, and from them. Okay, you see how he's paralleling? It's really important. Okay, I don't know why the scholars didn't notice this. This is really, I'll talk about that in a future video. I don't want to take time talking about it now. Okay, now that leaves, where is it? That leaves verses 16 and 17. It's really hard to look at this when the Hebrew is upside down. That leaves verses 16 and 17, which is the fourth voting period and the last one pre-Christ. which ended in 396 BC in our terms. That was the time when Israel's temple was down and Jerusalem, and it got rebuilt, but Jerusalem had not been rebuilt. And that's where the book of Esther comes in. Okay, and then the book of, Ezra and Nehemiah, all the post-exilic books, all the way to the end of Malachi. Malachi was put out about 397 BC. And I don't want to get too much into Daniel, but the 49 years in Daniel is about the completion of canon during that time. Now, these syllables are only 56. And you'll notice on the right-hand side that 56 is pretty prominent in Isaiah. Why? Because it's a number of judgment. Now we have to go back to the first 4 verses. The first 4 verses are God's decree, okay, which we saw that Isaiah split in the middle of the screen, and in the lower right-hand side of the screen you see the 242s. Okay, what's this? We got 14 extra syllables here. Right? It's not 70 like the rest of them. It's 84. And then down at the bottom, preview of coming attractions, this is 56. Now that's a shorthand way of telling Israel that she's gonna screw up. Moses is writing this in 1400 BC, just before he dies, and you can prove that, by the way, by the number of syllables. We'll get to that in a minute. And he's basically saying, hi, this is 84 syllables here because you guys are going to screw up by the time you get to your voting window. See, because when he was writing to them, the next voting window was their own. And this is like a sort of, deathbed, not quite deathbed blessing, but deathbed warning. Okay, you're going to be 14 years short. All right? And Isaiah plays to that by using the 56s, because Isaiah 53, 1 and 2 are about the Jews' attitude toward Messiah when he came. Real blistering. Okay? And Isaiah 53, 5 and 6 mirror that. See, for as many days as. So we got a 56 shortage. Now, if you look at my Isaiah 53 videos, you'll also notice that he plays the whole thing like a calendar. But right now, I'm just focusing on how he's playing off Psalm 90's mirroring. Because Moses prayed in Psalm 90 verse 15, to give us as many days of niceness as you gave us trouble. Okay, well, they gave Messiah trouble. And it cost them big time. It cost them to be short. That's what the 56 means there in Isaiah 53, 1 and 2. And you can go look in your favorite translation to see that's what it's about. Isaiah 53, 5 and 6 is about him being cursed for us and about how we all wander astray. And that's why he was cursed for us. Okay? So if the 56 is showing the shortfall. Now I'm going to cover more about that later, but in later videos, but just notice the pattern. Okay? Because this is not known in Christendom. It's not known in Christendom because people are still debating whether the Bible Hebrew even has meter. Okay, but if you just read the words, the meter naturally occurs. That's all I did here. Okay? And I'm going to do future videos where I use the same meter as in the Hebrew in an English translation so you can see it for yourself. See how it flows. It's really astonishing how well it flows. Okay,